Well, it has been a very interesting last 7 days. Looks like the world is on the verge of World War III if you listen to the media. But what is true and what is exaggerated, should we say? I say that because for the last 2 years, the whole world has been going through a little something that we all want to call, for social media purposes, I guess I'll call it the vid. We can't really use certain terms because YouTube and Facebook like to get a little crazy and blacklist people just for talking about something, which that alone shows exactly where we are as a world today. And if I may start with that, if we could rewind 10 years ago, when 10 to 15 years ago, when things like Facebook and Twitter, social media in general, was just getting going. I'm not even sure right off the top of my head the exact date that Facebook started, but it wasn't that long ago. And when it started out, it was a harmless little website where people could go from different colleges, mainly for college students, and it grew from there. All different types of social media companies popped up, and people use everything. Started out with MySpace was the big one. Then we went to Facebook. And then we had Twitter. Then we had Instagram. That was huge. And then Snapchat came along. And there was a lot of other ones in between. And then we had, now TikTok is huge. All these different social media sites that deliver content in slightly different ways. But one thing is very similar, and that is the social media companies are able to basically control what type of information is put out there. And they only care about certain types, specifically political. More or less, different types of political viewpoints on all different types of topics. You can post, about quote unquote mask in a positive manner, and you can post all you want to, get all the views in the world. If you post about the exact same thing, but you have a different viewpoint, the opposite viewpoint, then you're not going to get as many views. You have to work a lot harder to get your information out there. Same way if you're a company wanting to do paid advertisement on these social media websites. Depending on what you're wanting to advertise about, even if you have a talk radio show or a podcast, but before they approve of a paid ad, they view your website, your channel, whatever it is, your page, and the content violates their so-called community standards that they get to just make up. And it's not like community standards, for instance, in the real world. In the real world, sexual harassment, you can't do that. That's a crime. You can't sexually harass people. And it should be the same way online, that if you are creating content, sharing content, or making comments, statements, whatever, that sexually harasses someone, you shouldn't be allowed. It's the same thing, tit for tat, real world or on the internet. So there should be community standards on social media. But for some reason, every single major social media site has got all of their community standards aligned with each other, specifically around political viewpoints. It is perfectly okay in the real world to have a more left-leaning viewpoint or a right-leaning viewpoint or a center of the aisle, independent viewpoint, and everything is perfectly fine. You've broken no laws. That is your freedom in the United States of America to believe and speak whatever it is. Speak that is not agreed with is the specific type of speech that is mostly protected. It's really the only speech that needs protection, because speech that everyone agrees with has no need of protection. So if a social media company wants to promote free speech, then they should protect and help promote speech that is not widely agreed with. But that's not the case. So we look at what's going on now with Russia. Immediately, and this is what's weird. I'm going to get into this a little bit deeper. But what is weird is that, so for the last 2 years, we've had all this information in the media about the vid, quote unquote. And there is a ton of information out there that people had to really, really try to get out through different means and channels that you would have to if you were someone who was pro that side, if I can say it that way. But this information that was kind of leaning the other way, because it was a different viewpoint, for some reason, you strictly were not allowed to talk about it. Facebook would shut you down. YouTube would shut you down. Twitter would shut you down. If you went on any mainstream news site or an interview and tried to talk about it, you got shut down, and most likely your interview never got aired. So for some reason, all of the media and all of social media align together very strictly on one certain point. We now know, because it took time and it was longer getting information out, because we were basically blocked. People from a certain side of the political spectrum, and it shouldn't have even been political. Like what happened over the last 2 years is not politics. It shouldn't have been, but for some reason it was made that way. People were labeled a certain way from a certain side. So we take all of the information that we see that the media, I'm originally referred to it as the media, that's like the news media and social media all combined. They work so well together with mainly people from one political party and a few people from another major political party, but pretty much one side, and you know who I'm talking about, but one side was 100% bought and sold, completely on board with one side of the messaging. The other side had to fight tooth and nail just to get videos shared around and to get information out. Now, a lot of information has come to light, and it seems like things were not always the way they were portrayed and the way they were told by the quote unquote media. So now that we face this, what the media calls potential World War III on the horizon, actually it's past the horizon, it is here. Russia has invaded Ukraine, and we got these pictures slipping out of the leader from another country. I forget the name of it, but right beside, it's Belarus, I think. Right beside Russia, a picture slips out of with a map showing they're going to invade another small country right there beside Russia. And conveniently, all this information is just blowing up like within days. It's like all of a sudden the media is like a better intelligence agency than our own intelligence agencies. And they gave us a play-by-play all the way back into December of every troop movement that Russia was making, and kept it on the news 24/7, just constantly letting us know what Russia was doing, what Putin was doing, and that this could lead to a world war. This could lead to a huge conflict in Europe. It could lead to cyber attacks in the United States. It could potentially be nuclear war and world war. Almost like we've been being prepped and primed for the last 3 months for what is happening now. But my biggest question is, with everything that happened over the last 2 years and all of the questions that pretty much everyone has now about what really happened 2 years ago, what really caused that, who was actually behind it, who funded it, the question of why were we lied to, none of those questions are getting answered officially. None. Now we've moved on. It's like, and in case no one has noticed, literally almost the moment that this conflict kicked off, COVID disappeared off the radar in the United States, and I'm assuming also all around the world. Literally, the week before the war actually, or I guess we're going to go ahead and call it the war, not even a full week, just a few days before Russia actually started the official invasion, my employer, which is a very large, well-known multinational brand, they dropped their mask mandate. And almost in lockstep, several other large corporations dropped their mask mandates. A lot of the different city, state, local governments around the country started changing policies. And it's like immediately COVID just went out the window. There hasn't been a peep of any more variants. It's like Omicron, when that came out, it's almost like it didn't work. What's next? Now, I know that's a huge conspiracy. That's a bold statement to make. I have absolutely no information to verify that, to establish that as something that is true. I'm merely stating what it looks like. It really looked like that whatever group you want to call it, the World Economic Forum, the people associated with it, the people behind it, the funders of it, the world elites, if you will, it's almost like the big plan they had with the Great Reset, whatever happened with step one, which was the last 2 years, that wasn't really working out that well. And we have been brainwashed for 2 years to be scared to death of it. I have physically seen people in my small hometown walking around with 2 masks on. Makes no sense whatsoever. I have talked to people that do not care about it at all. And I've talked to people who are scared to death that they're going to die. Just brainwashed an entire population, or really almost the whole world. But like literally immediately as this conflict kicks off, nobody cares about COVID no more. And I guess I just screwed it all up. I said it, put it out there. Maybe YouTube won't kick us off. But nobody cares about it anymore. So it makes me believe, since now the media altogether is not pushing it the way they have for 2 solid years, and they have told us that it was here to stay, it was the new normal, we were going to have to live with it. There was going to be tons and tons and tons of variants. We were going to have to get, 2 extra boosters per year to defend ourselves from it. Since they ain't talking about it no more, it makes me believe that maybe they were lying the whole time. It was a real thing, but maybe they were grossly exaggerating and not letting a crisis go to waste, as so many people on that side of the political spectrum like to say. So now it's like we have a new crisis, and they are not going to let it go to waste. So the media has hooked all of their claws into it, and that is the reason we're not hearing about the previous crisis. It's because this new one is so much more important that they have to put all their focus on it, because whatever their plan is going to be big. So pretty much all I have right now is just an opinion. I've got a lot more to this opinion that I don't want to say just yet, because I would like to have a few facts, or at least a few news articles from the past, from years and years back, that I kind of want to get together before I present anything. But that's where I'm leaning. I guess we're all going to find out. So stay tuned. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I will have another video up with a little bit of information showing a little bit of what I think is going on. And then you can comment and let me know what you think. In the meantime, if you will, please visit nuketownmercantile.com. That is my new business selling AR-15 products, optics, tactical gear. It is the way that I fund everything that I'm doing and trying to do, trying to get information together and put out there for people to listen to and hear and get some information so they can start their own research and help keep themselves educated about all the things going on in the world. So if you're looking for any type of AR-15 parts, accessories, slings, backpacks, tactical gloves, or any type of tactical gear, visit nuketownmercantile.com and visit us on Facebook and Instagram. Until next time, God bless America.